example is this gentleman here, Samila. So, Samila is a young farmer, 32, 33 years old, hard-working fellow, very hard-working. He has about 2.5 hectares of land, and through agriculture, he was able to, in effect, move himself into middle class in a matter of months. Samila was able to, on his 2.5 hectares of land, planting maize, he was able to produce enough income to buy this car in one season. Not only was he able to buy the car, the last profit payment that we made to him, we asked him, he was so excited. We asked him what is he going to do with it, and to show you how middle class he is now, he said, I'm going to go on a vacation. He said, I'm going to go to Kano, I'm going to rest, I'm going to eat some good food. I said, you're taking your family, right? He said, no. So, why agriculture is so exciting in Nigeria? First, land. 84 million hectares of arable land. Second, water. Nigeria has 3 of the 8 major river systems in Africa. 279 billion cubic meters of surface water. 21% of all the surface water in West Africa. And finally, markets. And this is actually why I think Nigeria will be the Brazil of Africa. Because you can have all the land, you can have all the water, but if you don't have internal markets, you are unable to develop the economies of scale internally to become a dominant powerhouse. Example, Brazil. Brazil wasn't a major exporter of agricultural produce in 1985, not even 1990. But in the 90s, they became a dominant powerhouse on the world scale of agriculture. Why? Because they built up strong economies of scale with a large internal market and very easily able to dominate global trade. Beef is a key example. Brazil dominated the global trade of beef by increasing their domestic production by 5%. Because they had such a large, dominant internal market. So, what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to look at these 3 things: land, markets, and water, and highlight what the key trends that we can expect in Nigerian agriculture over the next 20 years and that impact that will have on management education. Starting with land. The key trend with land is we're going to see a shrinking average size in farm size. Now, most people would look at that and say that's a bad thing. I like the iPod. I like things when they get small. First off, why is it? Well, if we think about it, we have 84 million hectares of arable land. Sounds like a lot, right? We have 160 million people. Per capita, half a hectare per person. Now, it's not really fair to take everybody, because last I checked, many of you around this room probably don't have a phone. So let's take the rural inhabitants. So if we take per hectare of rural inhabitants in Nigeria, we plotted that from 1960 to 2050. We moved from north of 2 hectares per person to today we're about 1 hectare per rural inhabitants in Nigeria. As we look at projected trends in population and urbanization and so on and so forth, we project that will go to will drop down to about 0.6 hectares per person in rural. Now, if you throw on top of that some other factors, I talked about urbanization. But the green line assumes that urbanization will continue at the trends that we have seen. The reality, though, is I feel that urbanization will actually slow in Nigeria from a percentage standpoint. Why? Because people need to have a reason to migrate. People migrated to the urban areas in Western Europe and so on and so forth with industrialization, and they had jobs. And finally, people think that land is always going to be there. From 1985 to 2000, 15 years, the world lost 15% of its arable land. Gone forever. Why? Urbanization. As the world urbanizes, we actually take up more agricultural land. Salinization, desertification, erosion. So if we take Nigeria, for example, we don't recognize it. We actually have a massive desertification challenge here in Nigeria today. If you look at a satellite map of Nigeria, it's one of the few places in the world where north is greener than south. Nigeria has recognized that problem of desertification, and over the last 10 years has planted 15 million trees along the border of Nigeria. Special types of trees that basically are unique in the sense that they shed their leaves in the rainy season and put on their leaves in the dry season, which help to stimulate and minimize desertification. But Nigeria, south of the border, is actually less green. And it's a challenge that's getting worse and worse every year. Now, the reality is that our poor farmers are not small. Being smaller is not actually a bad thing. So let's take a look at this gentleman. I took this video last year. Apologies, it was a little shaky. I was on the back of the motorcycle. And this is your average everyday smallholder farmer. Toiling hard on his farm. So 1 hectare, 2 hectares worth of land. Now, he's now going to go out and try to access inputs to plant on that piece of land. He's going to have to walk or ride his motorcycle or bicycle 20, 30 kilometers to buy those inputs. He's going to buy them from somebody who bought them from somebody who bought them from somebody. Then, he's not going to have enough money to buy all the inputs that he needs. So no matter what you do, it takes $500 per hectare to grow maize best practice in Nigeria. And a farmer like this gentleman that maybe makes, if he's lucky, $300 a year, and where is he going to get $500 to buy the inputs that he needs? So he's going to buy less inputs that he needs, lower quality inputs, and not be able to get the quantity he needs to sustain people's prices. Then he's going to put all of that in the ground, he's going to grow it, and he's going to get a yield that is subpar by any measure across the world. And he's going to take his meager harvest and he's going to go out, he's going to try and sell it. And he's in a very weak position in the output markets, and he's going to get a low price. So quite frankly, this poor fellow is squeezed on both ends, and that's why he's trapped in poverty. Now the reality though is that he is not unlike every other farmer practically everywhere else in the world. If we had the benefit of going back in time 100 years and to meet a farmer in, say, the United States in 1910, 1913, we'd actually go back and meet my grandfather. He was a farmer there at the time, and he was very poor. And he was poor just like all the other farmers. But what happened between 1910 and 1930 was a revolution in farmer organizations. Groups that were able to bring economies of scale to these farmers. Because at the end of the day, we're in business school, right? So if a business has low economies of scale, can it grow? No. So what happened was they developed systems that brought effectively and cost competitively economies of scale to poor farmers, enabling those poor farmers to dramatically increase their yields, their productivity, and become profitable. Example, this, you probably can't see it very well, this is a smallholder farmer's field. This field generated up to 4.6 tons of maize per hectare last season. Across the street is another smallholder farmer's field, generates about 0.8 tons per hectare. 5 to 6-fold increase in productivity, dramatically increasing their incomes. This gentleman on top was able to make, net of his loan that was provided to him, $1,450. Net of his loan. The World Bank defines a country from low income to low medium income as $1,000. He is now, technically, by their definition, in the middle class. So what does this mean for management education? Well, it means that we have to think about preparing that next generation of management folks to develop systems that can prepare farmers and organizations similar to this. Organizations that can train leaders to provide the economies of scale to farmers. Key tangible examples here. With the Agribusiness Management Programme, we don't want to train traders. We want to train people who go out and manage warehouse receipts programs and with thousands of farmers efficiently and effectively and make those business. We want to train folks that can go out and deliver $500 in credit to an individual farmer and do that 10,000 times, do it effectively and efficiently. Now the second trend in markets. The trend in markets that we're going to see domestically is food for the emerging middle class. Now I'm sure like many of you, I've been to about 10 weddings in the last 2 weeks. And 90% of the time, when you go to a wedding, and the reason this is important is because if you want to project what people eat when they have more money, look at what they eat at weddings. So 90% of the time when I went to a wedding, I ate rice and chicken. So the future of Nigeria, from a food standpoint, is rice and chicken. So what does that mean for agribusiness? Well, as you know, the federal government is driving a massive initiative around rice. Thankfully, they're looking to put in certain protections similar to what they've done in the poultry sector that has enabled the poultry sector to be the dominant agro industry in Nigeria. First Bank just sponsored the Poultry Association in Nigeria to have their annual conference. He's a businessman. He's not doing that because he's calling the money. He sees the potential. And so, if we look at rice, what are the implications, management implications for a growing and thriving rice industry? Well, we've got to move irrigation. So what does it take? How do we prepare that next generation of agribusiness leaders that will develop, finance, operate, and manage massive irrigation schemes that will enable thousands of smallholder farmers to become profitable and productive? We don't have to look very far to see this work. We just go to Mali. In Mali today, there's a 70,000 hectare irrigation project off to Niger with thousands of smallholder farmers today getting yields up to 14 metric tons per hectare over 2 cycles of rice. Now, if we look at the other key factors here, if you look at a major rice processing plant. You know, world-scale rice processing plant in Nigeria today, Nigeria globally would probably be somewhere around 70,000 metric tons. That translates into pulling rice from approximately 20,000 hectares of land, about 10,000, 15,000 farmers. Now, with chicken, in Nigeria today, we consume somewhere around 1.6 kilograms per person per year of chicken. South Africa consumes 36 kilograms per person per year. So let's think about if Nigeria let's say we move from 1.6 to 3 kilograms per person per year. Now we're about 10% of South Africa. What that translates into is having leaders, business people, that can aggregate an additional 3 million metric tons of maize and manage those complex supply chains to be able to deliver quality at the right price. Now, final trend is water. So with water, we're going to see increased rainfall variability due to climate change. Climate change is real. Now the unfortunate thing about climate change, in reality, us in this room, we didn't really cause climate change. But unfortunately, we are going to bear the brunt of climate change. Now finally, I think we all want to take a step back and say to why we must change. We, as an organization, committed to creating 10 million jobs in the next 10 years through innovative businesses such as the business they talked about earlier, Abangona, where we've created an agricultural franchise that goes out and in a business manner enables small farmers to be profitable and productive while we make money at the same time. But my challenge to the program is that there's still a gap of 70 million jobs that need to be created. And creating innovative platforms and innovative businesses that unlock millions of jobs, frankly, should be all our responsibility. Thank you again for this opportunity.